and for Scotland coming through strongly. He had trained her, tested her, and now she had passed, at last permitted to go on such tasks that crossed the span of the country. Though Kit couldn't help wondering if this challenge was another test set by Walsingham, to see if she was truly ready. As two guards passed along the top of the curtain wall, their hats just visible above the edge, Kit took her chance. She stood up from her crouched position and clambered up the top of the hill before it levelled out completely. As before, she began to climb, but the stone wall was smoother than the cliff face and not so easy to traverse. When her boot slipped off the wall, casting loose stones through the air, she had to cling onto the flimsy purchase she had on an outstretched stone with both hands, swinging her legs in the air wildly. "Did you hear something?" a voice came from above the castle wall. Kit swung her legs back toward the main body of the wall and pressed herself against it, hiding her body between the shadows. Above her, on the top of the wall, she heard a guard moving about, the footsteps heavy. Overhead, two crows took flight off a tower and passed near to her arms. "It's just the crows, that's all," another Scottish accent answered the first. They walked on, leaving Kit enough peace to reset her footing against the wall and climb again. The more she climbed, the sorer her hands beneath the leather gloves became, but she fought through the pain, gritting her teeth. It was imperative to make it into the castle without anyone seeing her, and it had to be today. She glanced back, looking to the sun on the horizon. It was beginning to drop in the sky, signalling an hour or two of sunlight more at most. She didn't have long left. With renewed vigour, she pulled her body up against the wall, reaching for the top of the battlements and peering over the edge of the stone. There was no one about on the curtain wall. Either side of her, the stone floor stretched out, empty, turning orange with the setting sun. She clambered over the top, landing soundlessly on the stone and pulling her hat lower down over her face to hide her features. The easy part was done, actually getting into the castle. The somewhat more interesting part lay ahead, walking through the castle undetected. She hugged the edge of the stonework as she headed toward a turret built into the wall. As she neared an open door, she could hear someone moving about inside. They were humming to themselves, a soft sort of bumbling tune, suggesting they were alone. Peering round the corner proved her suspicions right. A man was alone, pacing the small octagonal space wearing a guard's uniform. With his back turned to her, Kit had one opportunity to get the jump on him. She stepped into the room, tiptoeing as fast as she could through the tower room whilst casting a gaze around for a weapon she could use. An empty beer bottle was discarded on a table. She took it quickly and approached the man before striking him across the back of his head, just hard enough to stun him. The humming tune stopped as the man dropped to his knees and slid to the floor. Kit checked the wound first, seeing he would be fine, before pulling off his hat and his doublet. Large and gaping, the doublet fitted easily over her own. Her brown cap she stuffed in her pocket before placing the guard's hat on her head, bearing the unicorn of the Scottish royal insignia. As she stood straight, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in murky glass, latticed with black lead. Her short, dark, auburn hair was barely visible now beneath the large hat, yet her features still gave her away. The large bronze-coloured eyes and the small mouth were too feminine for her to impersonate a man so easily. She returned to the guard who was still out cold and took the black scarf from his neck, wrapping it around her own and covering her mouth with it too. Satisfied when her true features were covered, she winked once at the reflection and hurried out of the room, heading for the spiral staircase. The trick was to make it look like she belonged. When she reached the ground and strode out of the tower up to the main cobbled path through the castle, she adapted her walk, spacing her feet wider apart. It was a skill she had been practicing since she was a child, and had perfected over the years, walking convincingly as a man. As she passed other guards going about their business, they all nodded to her in passing, not one realizing she was a woman in disguise. Walking through the middle ward of